Stopping your reactions is the first step to becoming untouchable. If you truly want to be untouchable, there is something you need to understand right away. Every time you react impulsively, you surrender your power. Most people live in a constant state of reaction. They let themselves be affected by any comment, any look, any situation that does not go as expected. And as long as you remain a reactive person, you will be easy to manipulate, easy to predict, and above all, easy to affect. Carl Jung spoke about how uncontrolled emotions are a reflection of unresolved internal shadows. In other words, if something disturbs you, if something destabilizes you, it is not because it holds power over you, but because there is something within you that you have not yet mastered. And here is where the problem begins. Why do you react so much? Because you care too much about things you shouldn't. You care too much about the opinions of others. You care too much about external validation. You care too much about feeling accepted or approved. Those who are truly untouchable have understood something that most people never grasp. Not everything deserves a reaction, and even less so, your energy. Every time you jump to defend yourself, every time you try to justify yourself, every time you respond with anger or frustration, you are making it clear that others can affect you, that they have control over you, even if just a little. But what happens when you learn not to react? When someone insults you, and you just look at them calmly? When someone tries to provoke you, and your face does not change even a fraction? When chaos unfolds around you, and you remain in peace? That is when you become untouchable. How to train yourself to stop reacting. Pause before responding. Most people respond without thinking. Someone attacks you, and you immediately become defensive. But when you train your mind to pause before reacting, you take control. Ask yourself, does this really deserve my energy? Almost always, the answer is no. Observe, but do not engage. Jung spoke about the importance of observation without identification. Not everything that happens needs your participation. Sometimes the best response is none at all. Learn to view situations as if you were a spectator in a movie. Practice selective indifference. This does not mean becoming emotionless, but rather choosing consciously what you give importance to. You cannot prevent someone from trying to provoke you, but you can prevent yourself from falling into their trap. Master your body language. Silence, calmness, and a neutral expression are powerful weapons. When someone tries to push you off center and you simply hold your posture, unmoved, without showing any obvious reaction, that is the moment you realize they no longer have power over you. Replace reaction with strategy. Instead of responding emotionally, choose to respond strategically. Sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful answer. Other times, a simple smile can disarm any attack. Do not get carried away by the moment. Think long-term. What happens when you stop reacting? When you reach this level, people perceive you differently. Some will be confused. They won't understand why you don't react as you used to. Others will become frustrated. A few will respect you even more, because the energy of someone who is untouchable can be felt, perceived, and imposed. But most importantly, you will feel different. You will realize that you are no longer a puppet to your emotions. Because being untouchable is not about being indifferent. It is about being so in control of yourself that nothing external can throw you off balance. Exercise to strengthen your emotional control. If you truly want to start practicing this, do the following. For 1 week, every time something provokes an impulsive reaction in you, wait 5 seconds before responding. Observe how your body reacts. Tension, discomfort, anxiety. Take it as a sign that there is still something you need to train. Make a list of the situations that trigger your reactions the most and analyze why. Each night, ask yourself, how many times today did I let something external affect me? Visualize the version of yourself that no longer falls into these traps. Make this mindset your identity. When something starts to change within you, you begin to see the world from another level. And best of all, when you learn to let go, this power multiplies even further. When you learn to let go, you become more powerful than you ever imagined. There is a truth that few understand. Attachment is the greatest weakness a person can have. Everything that binds you, everything you struggle to release, is exactly what keeps you vulnerable. Those who are truly untouchable have mastered the art of letting go. But here is the problem. Most people do not know how to let go. We cling to people, to situations, to expectations, believing that if we let go, we will lose something important. We were taught that letting go is losing, that walking away is giving up. But the reality is quite the opposite. When you learn to let go, you set yourself free. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of detachment as a fundamental process for individuation. He understood that those who fail to let go remain chained to their past, to their pain, and to things they will never be able to control. And this is where true power lies. When you no longer fear losing, you become untouchable. The mistake of clinging to what is not meant for you is one of the greatest barriers to personal growth. Ask yourself, how many times have you stayed in a place where you no longer belonged? How many times have you held on to a relationship that drained you simply because you were afraid to let go? How often have you tried to change someone, hoping that one day they would become the person you need them to be? Here is the truth you need to understand today. Nothing that you have to beg to stay is truly worth it. Nothing that has to be forced is genuinely yours. Anything that costs you your peace is simply too expensive. The strongest people have mastered the art of letting go quickly. They don't stay where they are not valued. They don't insist where there is no longer respect. And they don't fear losing because they understand that what is truly meant for them will never have to be forced. How can you let go without feeling like you're losing? Change your mindset about detachment. Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms you." Letting go is not losing. It is accepting. Accepting that certain people were only meant to teach you something, not to stay forever. Accepting that some opportunities were never meant for you. Accepting that some cycles must close so that you can move forward. Face your fear of letting go. The main reason most people struggle with detachment is fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of making a mistake. Fear of regretting it later. But here's the secret. When you confront that fear, you realize it was never as big as you thought. Try this exercise for liberation. Think of something you are struggling to let go of today. It could be a relationship, a thought, or a situation. Now ask yourself, what would happen if I simply stopped carrying this burden? Imagine the lightness, the peace, the tranquility. That feeling of freedom is proof that letting go is the right choice. Repeat this phrase whenever you struggle to release something. I trust that what is meant for me will come effortlessly, because that is the truth. Nothing that is truly yours will ever need to be held onto desperately. Break the pattern of emotional attachment. The next time you feel the urge to hold on to something or someone that does not value you, do the opposite. Walk away. Observe what happens when you stop chasing after what wants to leave. You will discover that most of the time, when you let go, the universe surprises you with something even better. The ultimate test of whether you need to let go of something or someone is simple. Imagine that they are no longer in your life. Observe how you feel about that thought. If you feel peace instead of anxiety, you already have your answer. Often the real problem isn't attachment itself, but rather the resistance to accept the obvious. You cannot cling to something that is not meant to stay with you. When you master the art of letting go, your energy shifts. You no longer live in a state of lack, but in a state of abundance. People perceive you differently because the confidence of someone who is not afraid to lose is magnetic. You gain greater control over your life because you stop holding on to things that are not good for you. Letting go is the ultimate test of self-trust. Those who cannot release are still slaves to fear. But there is something even more powerful than letting go: the art of silence. And this is what separates the truly untouchable from the rest. Silence and mystery increase your value. The people who are truly unreachable have mastered an art that few understand: silence. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated, the person who knows how to remain quiet and reserved has an unparalleled advantage. Not revealing too much, not reacting impulsively, and not offering unnecessary explanations make you someone others cannot easily decipher. And what people cannot decipher intrigues them. Carl Jung spoke extensively about the importance of introspection and how the most powerful individuals are those who control their own narrative. These people do not need to announce what they think, how they feel, or what they plan to do. Instead, they simply act, observe, and allow their results to speak for themselves. However, the majority of people lack control over their words and their energy. They talk excessively, explain too much, and constantly try to justify themselves. Every unnecessary word they utter becomes a piece of information that others can use against them. The psychology of silence and its impact on your life is profound. When you are too accessible, predictable, and talkative, you lose a sense of intrigue, and your value diminishes. Others feel like they already know everything about you, leaving no mystery, no depth, nothing that compels them to want to discover more. This principle applies to every aspect of life. In personal relationships, if you are always available and share every thought that crosses your mind, you become a safe but uninteresting option. People take you for granted. In the workplace, if you reveal too much about your plans and strategies, others can get ahead of you or take advantage of your information. In life in general, if you always attempt to explain your decisions, provide reasons for everything you do, or justify every step you take, others begin to feel entitled to have an opinion about your life. Fact number 1, the less you reveal, the more control you have. Silence is a shield. Not everyone needs to know what you think, and not everyone deserves access to your inner world. When you start speaking less and observing more, you begin to see the hidden dynamics behind every conversation. When you remain silent, you become unpredictable. No one truly knows what you are thinking, and that alone gives you a strategic advantage. Others respect you more because those who do not feel the need to constantly explain themselves project confidence. You also develop a heightened awareness of the energy of those around you. Listening more and speaking less allows you to identify hidden intentions in others. How to use mystery to your advantage. Do not reveal your plans until they are already in motion. Many people fail because they announce their moves before executing them. Do not warn others, just do it. Do not explain your decisions. You owe no one an explanation. If you have made a choice, stand firm in it and let the results speak for themselves. Control your body language. Mystery is not only about what you say, but also about how you behave. A neutral facial expression, a steady gaze, and well-timed pauses before speaking can have a greater impact than 1,000 words. Learn to enjoy silence. Do not feel the need to fill every moment with unnecessary words. Truly powerful individuals are comfortable with silence because they know they do not have to prove anything to anyone. Make people wonder about you. Do not reveal everything immediately. Leave space for curiosity. Interest increases when there is something left to discover. Be aware of the power of the pause. When someone asks you a difficult or uncomfortable question, do not rush to answer. Take a moment to think, to assess the situation. That pause makes others feel that whatever you are about to say carries weight and importance. Do not share your weaknesses with just anyone. People can use information against you. Ensure that those who have access to your vulnerabilities are individuals who truly deserve that privilege. A practical exercise to strengthen your silent presence. For 1 week, practice the following. Respond with fewer words. Do not explain more than necessary. Be clear, concise, and direct. Observe more than you speak. Analyze how people behave when you do not reveal all your information. Use pauses in your conversations. Before responding, take a deep breath and maintain control. Do not announce your plans before they become reality. Let people be surprised by your actions, not by your words. The result of mastering the art of silence. When you control your information and do not reveal everything immediately, people begin to see you differently. Some will feel uncomfortable because they cannot read your intentions. Others will admire you because you project a security that few possess. And some will try to decipher you because the unknown is always more intriguing than the predictable. Here lies the key. When you become a mystery, power shifts in your favor. But there is something else that makes truly untouchable individuals different. They do not just know when to remain silent, they also know when to prioritize themselves above all else. And that leads us to the next crucial point. When you prioritize yourself, power dynamics shift in your favor. Most people live their lives putting others first. They do everything to please, to fit in, to be accepted. And this is the mistake that makes them weak, because every time you put yourself last, you give someone else control over your life. Carl Jung also spoke about the importance of becoming a complete and independent person. However, achieving this is impossible if you continue to sacrifice yourself for people who would never do the same for you. Those who are truly unattainable have already understood this. When you prioritize yourself, the power dynamic shifts in your favor. But why does prioritizing yourself change your energy? The issue is that from an early age, we are conditioned to feel guilty for thinking about ourselves. We are taught that being selfish is wrong, that we must always give, that sacrifice is a virtue. But there is a significant difference between selfishness and self-love. Selfishness is demanding without giving. Self-love is giving, but without allowing yourself to be depleted. And this is the key. When you start prioritizing yourself, people begin to perceive you differently. You are no longer an easy option, someone they can use at their convenience. Instead, You become someone with standards. And the truth is, people respect those who have standards. The first unshakable fact: if you do not prioritize yourself, you will always be an option, never a priority. If you constantly sacrifice your time, your energy, and your well-being for others without receiving the same in return, all you are doing is training people to give you less than what you deserve. Think about it. If you are always available, you will never be valued. If you always say yes, people will assume you have no life of your own. If you do not respect yourself, no one else will. People who are truly unattainable have learned to set boundaries, not because they are cold or distant, but because they understand that their energy is valuable and should not be given away carelessly. So how can you start prioritizing yourself without guilt? Learn to say no without explanations. You do not have to justify why you do not want to do something. A simple no thank you is enough. Stop giving without reciprocity. If you notice that you are always the one making an effort, the one always putting in the work, pause and observe who is truly there for you. Cut access to those who do not value you. Not everyone deserves a place in your life. If someone only appears when they need something, remove them from your circle. Invest time in yourself before investing it in others. Never place anyone above your peace of mind. If something drains you more than it nourishes you, it is not worth it. Free yourself from the guilt of prioritizing yourself. You do not owe your time or energy to anyone. If someone is bothered by the fact that you put yourself first, that means they were benefiting from your self-neglect. Try this experiment and witness the immediate effects of prioritization. If you still have doubts about how prioritizing yourself can change your life, conduct this experiment for 1 week. Say no to something you genuinely do not want to do without feeling guilty. Observe how people react when you stop being constantly available. Take time for yourself without external interruptions. Reflect on how often you act out of obligation rather than genuine desire. You will be surprised by what happens next. Those who truly value you will respect your space and your limits. Those who are only around for their convenience will start to distance themselves. And that is exactly what you want. What happens when you become your own priority? When you start prioritizing yourself, people treat you differently. Those who genuinely appreciate you will stay and respect you even more. Those who are only around for their benefit will disappear. And those who once took you for granted will suddenly feel like they are losing you. But here is the real key. When you recognize your own worth, the world reflects that back to you, and there is an even higher level you must reach, the complete transformation of your presence. It is not just about prioritizing yourself. It is about radiating an energy that makes the world perceive you in an entirely different way. When you reach this level, everything changes. The world begins to treat you differently. When a person becomes truly unattainable, their energy shifts. They no longer beg, they do not chase, and they do not let themselves be dragged along by the desires of others. Instead, they know their worth and are not afraid to lose what does not serve them. People who have reached this level have developed a presence that can be felt. It is not something they say, it is something others perceive. When they walk into a room, people take notice. They do not seek validation. They do not crave approval. And because of that, suddenly, they start receiving more respect, more admiration, and more opportunities. The second unshakable fact: people respect those who are not afraid to lose anything. This is the power of prioritizing yourself. This is what separates those who are truly in control of their lives from those who are constantly at the mercy of others. When you master this, you stop existing on the terms of the world, and the world starts responding to you on yours. Carl Jung spoke about the concept of individuation, the process of becoming a complete person without relying on the external world. When you reach this level, the way others perceive you changes radically. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who doesn't need anything from anyone, yet for some reason, everyone wants to be around them? That's because independence is attractive. When you are self-sufficient, people stop taking you for granted. Those who once ignored you begin to seek you out. Opportunities come without you having to force them. Fact number 2, your presence becomes stronger without you having to say anything. People who are truly unattainable don't have to prove anything, don't seek to impress, and don't crave attention. Yet somehow, they still stand out. Why? Because self-assurance is magnetic. Observe the difference. Someone who seeks approval, talks too much, tries too hard to be liked, and desperately wants to fit in. Meanwhile, someone who is unattainable simply exists with a firm, unwavering energy without needing to prove anything. And here's the key point. When you reach this level, people start treating you as someone worth knowing. How do you consolidate this state and never go back? Reaching this level is one thing. Maintaining it is another. Here are 3 key principles to ensure you never become someone others can manipulate or control again. Never put anyone above your peace. If someone makes you doubt your worth, that person does not deserve a place in your life. Do not explain or justify yourself. When you make a decision, stand by it. You don't need to convince anyone that you're doing the right thing. Surround yourself with people who share this mindset. If you surround yourself with insecure people who rely on validation, it's only a matter of time before they drag you back into that cycle. Fact number 3. When you become unattainable, social dynamics shift in your favor. Being unattainable doesn't just mean people see you differently, it changes the entire game. The ones who once ignored you now seek you out. Those who thought they could manipulate you now feel uncomfortable in your presence. Opportunities start arriving effortlessly because people recognize the energy of someone who knows their worth. An exercise to maintain this mindset. If you truly want to make sure you never lose this mentality, do the following for 1 week. Observe who tries to get your attention and ask yourself if they truly deserve it. Every time you feel the urge to explain or justify yourself, stop and stay silent. Eliminate any behavior that signals desperation for acceptance. Every night, reflect. Did you act from a place of security today, or from a need for validation? What happens when you reach this level? When you finally arrive at this point, the world responds differently. People admire you, but they don't fully understand why. They start treating you with more respect, even when you do nothing to demand it. You experience a freedom you never had before because you no longer need anything from anyone. Here's the difference. When you no longer seek approval, attention, or validation, you automatically become someone others seek out. But to get here, you must let go of everything that once made you dependent on the external world. And that's what sets apart those who remain trapped by the expectations of others from those who truly become unattainable. If you've made it this far, there's something you already know. Becoming unattainable is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of personal power. It is understanding that no one has the right to control manipulate, or make you feel less than you are. It is taking control of your own life and setting clear boundaries that no one can cross. Those who reach this level no longer play by the rules of others. They don't seek approval. They don't ask for permission to be who they are. And that is why the world treats them differently. Because when you stop chasing, you become the magnet. When you stop begging, you become the prize. When you stop explaining, you become a mystery. And mystery always attracts. When you adopt this mindset, your presence changes. You are no longer someone who can be ignored or taken for granted. The relationships that don't add value to your life disappear, leaving only those who truly respect your energy. Opportunities arrive effortlessly because confidence is magnetic, and people sense it. You gain mental peace because you no longer waste energy trying to fit in or please everyone. But this is not something that happens overnight. It is a decision you must make every single day. Every time you feel the urge to react impulsively, every time you want to explain yourself, every time you doubt your worth, remember, you decide whether to remain accessible or rise above it all. Your challenge from today onwards. I want you to do this. Comment below with the following declaration to reaffirm your commitment to this transformation. I choose to be unattainable for anything that does not add value to my life. My energy is precious, and I protect it. Let the world know that you are no longer the same person who once needed validation or attention. You are someone who respects and prioritizes themselves, who is not afraid to let go of what no longer serves them. And when you truly embody this, you will see how the world starts treating you the way you always deserve to be treated. Because being unattainable is not about distancing yourself from the world. It is about becoming your highest self. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and share it with. See you in the next video. Throughout life, we encounter challenges that seem impossible to overcome. There are moments of doubt, pain, and confusion when we find ourselves asking, why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like I'm fighting against an invisible force trying to bring me down? Carl Jung believed that nothing in life happens by accident. Every trial we face has a deeper purpose, a reason that goes beyond our immediate understanding. You might be feeling lost right now, burdened by the weight of your struggles. Maybe you're in a draining relationship, stuck in a job that leaves you feeling empty, or fighting an internal battle that you can't even explain. But let me tell you something important. God is using these trials to shape you. This is not a punishment. It's not a mistake. It's the necessary path toward your transformation, toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. Jung taught that transformation begins when we face what we fear the most. The challenges that feel like they're tearing your soul apart are actually reflections of your own shadow, the parts of yourself you've ignored or suppressed for far too long. It's no coincidence that the same situations, the same patterns, the same kinds of people keep showing up in your life. That's the universe, or as Jung would say, your unconscious, sending you a message. Something within you needs to change. Maybe it feels like life is testing you in ways you don't understand. Relationships fall apart without warning. Projects fail. Doors close when you least expect it. But every obstacle is actually an opportunity in disguise. Every closed door is a sign that something greater is waiting for you. Jung believed that the soul has a purpose, a calling that reaches beyond what we can see. and that calling reveals itself most powerfully through our hardest experiences. It's hard to see this when you're in the middle of chaos. It's hard to understand why something so painful could possibly be necessary. But here's the truth. These trials are not meant to destroy you. They're meant to reveal you, to uncover your strength, to show you that you can overcome what once seemed impossible. God never allows you to face something you're not ready for. Every tear, every failure, every moment of doubt is a step on the staircase towards something greater. Imagine yourself as an uncut diamond. The process of becoming a brilliant jewel isn't smooth or easy. It takes fire, pressure, and time. The same is true for you. Every challenge is a spark that polishes the parts of you that aren't yet aligned with your purpose. Every pain is an invitation to grow, to let go of what no longer serves you, and to embrace who you truly are. I know it can be tempting to give up. I know it might seem easier to stay on the path you already know, even if that path is leading you somewhere you don't want to be. But Jung reminds us that real growth happens when we dare to face the unknown, when we walk through that dark and mysterious path that forces us to confront our shadows. Think for a moment about the hardest times in your life. How many times did you feel like you couldn't go on, only to realize later that those very moments made you stronger, wiser, more aware of what truly matters? It's in the pain, in the confusion, that we find out who we really are. It's there that we discover the strength to become the person God is calling us to be. God doesn't make mistakes. Every trial you face is part of a much bigger plan. A plan you may not fully see right now, but one that has a clear purpose: to transform you. Jung believed that our unconscious mind works in mysterious ways to guide us to our truth. Those trials, those moments of struggle, are its way of saying, "You're ready for more. It's time to move forward." When you choose to face your challenges with faith and courage, something extraordinary begins to happen. The right people start showing up in your life. Doors begin to open where you used to see only walls. The answers you've been searching for start to appear. This is not a coincidence. It's the result of your choice to align with your purpose, to trust that what you're going through now is exactly what you need to get to where you're meant to be. But here's the hardest part: trusting the process. Carl Jung taught us that true growth requires unwavering faith in what cannot be seen. The trials we face do not always come with immediate explanations. Often, the answers we seek don't arrive when we want them to. They come when we are truly ready to receive them. This is an act of faith, a profound trust in God and in the divine purpose He has for your life. Have you ever felt like you're fighting against something invisible? That no matter how hard you try, things just don't turn out the way you expected? Jung would explain this as a disconnection between your conscious and unconscious mind. In simple terms, your conscious mind may be focused on a specific goal, but your unconscious mind, where your deepest beliefs and emotions live, might be working against that very goal without you realizing it. This internal conflict is what makes some trials feel so overwhelming and intense. But God doesn't allow these tests in your life to punish you. He allows them to reveal those inner conflicts, to make you stop, reflect, and confront the parts of yourself that need transformation. Perhaps it's a fear you've been carrying for years, a limiting belief you inherited without knowing, or a relationship that has pulled you away from your true essence. These challenges act like mirrors, reflecting back to you the parts of your soul that need attention, love, and healing. Jung believed that life is a journey toward individuation, a personal path of integration in which we bring together every part of ourselves. That includes our light and our darkness, our strengths and our weaknesses. It's a path toward wholeness, toward becoming who we truly are. And in His infinite wisdom, God uses the very challenges you face to guide you along that path. Each time you choose to face a trial with courage, you're taking a step closer to your full potential. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There will be days when you feel completely drained, when the weight of your circumstances seems too heavy to bear. But remember this: trials are not permanent. They are temporary. They are tools God uses to strengthen you, to prepare you for something far greater than you can currently imagine. Did you know that the roots of a tree grow stronger during storms? It's in those intense moments of pressure and adversity that the tree pushes its roots deeper into the ground to gain stability. The same thing happens with you. Every challenge you face is helping your roots grow stronger and deeper so you can withstand life's fiercest winds. But here's the real challenge. Most people aren't willing to go that deep. Many choose to avoid their trials, run from their pain, and settle for a life that feels safe but ultimately unfulfilled. Jung would say, these people are disconnected from their purpose. They live in a cycle of frustration because they're afraid to confront their own shadows. But you are not here to settle. If you're hearing this message, it's because something within you already knows you're meant for something greater. It's because God is calling you out of your comfort zone, asking you to face your trials with faith, and inviting you to trust that every difficult step is leading you closer to the destiny He designed for you. As you choose to walk this path, you begin to notice changes. Your perspective shifts. Things that once seemed impossible start to feel within reach. The right people begin to enter your life. People who support your growth and elevate your spirit, while those who drain your energy start to fall away. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of aligning your life with God's greater plan. Let me remind you of something important. You are not alone. Even when the trials make you feel isolated, even when the pain makes you believe no one understands what you're going through, God is right there with you. He has not left you. He never will. His plans for you are filled with hope and goodness, not harm. And even if the journey feels impossible at times, the reward waiting for you is beyond anything you can now imagine. God has a unique way of working in our lives. Jung said that what we project into the world is a direct reflection of what we carry within ourselves. What if the challenges you're facing right now aren't just obstacles, but reflections of parts of you that need healing? Jung believed that external struggles are invitations to look inward, to explore the places in our soul that are crying out for attention. So what if this current season of hardship is exactly what you need to unlock your highest potential? Picture this: a seed buried in the earth cannot bloom without pressure, darkness, and time. Yet when the conditions are right, that seed transforms into something beautiful, strong, and full of life. That's exactly what is happening with you. God is using these trials to cultivate you, to prepare you, to make you stronger and more capable. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment where you feel like you can't go on, these are the moments that are feeding a growth you cannot yet see. I know it's hard to understand this when you're in the middle of the pain. I know it can feel unfair, like life is against you. Carl Jung taught us something profoundly important, something that many forget in the midst of their pain. Suffering has a purpose. It is not the end of your story. In fact, it might just be the beginning of the most important chapter in your life. Suffering is not punishment. It's not something meaningless or cruel. It is the very process through which we are transformed. It's the fire that forges our soul into something greater. You are not being broken. You are being built into the person you were always meant to become. And let me tell you this: God does not place obstacles in your path by accident. There is a purpose, even if you can't see it yet. He is working behind the scenes, weaving threads of meaning and destiny into your life, even when all you can see is chaos. Take a moment and think. How many times in your life have you faced something that felt absolutely impossible to overcome? A moment so dark that you thought it might swallow you whole. But then, sometime later, you looked back and you realized that you didn't just survive, you grew, you became stronger, you became wiser, you became ready for what was next. Because God doesn't make mistakes. Every single experience, even the ones that broke your heart and brought you to your knees, were never random. They were pieces of a larger plan, a divine blueprint for your evolution. Jung believed that crises are not something we should run from, but something we should lean into, embrace. Because within every crisis is hidden an invitation to be reborn. Within every painful moment is the chance to rediscover who you truly are. Maybe right now, in this moment, you feel like you're at your breaking point. Maybe you think you've given everything you have and there's nothing left. But I want you to hear this with your heart. This is not the end. This is the beginning of something bigger, something better, something you never imagined possible. When you start to trust the process, when you begin to surrender to the idea that there is meaning behind your trials, something inside you shifts. You begin to see your challenges not as punishments, but as disguised blessings. You start to understand that the difficulties in your life are not here to destroy you. They are shaping you, preparing you to receive the abundance, the growth, and the wisdom that is on its way. Jung once said that chaos always precedes order. And this is true in your life right now. The storm you're in, it's not random. It's the necessary prelude to the peace and purpose that are coming. God would not allow you to face what you're going through if He didn't know that you had the strength to overcome it. He sees something in you that perhaps you don't yet see in yourself. He sees your potential, your power, your resilience. He knows that within you lies the ability to turn pain into purpose, sorrow into strength, and trials into testimony. And even if you don't feel strong right now, even if you feel completely lost, you still carry within you the exact strength you need to keep moving forward. Every time you choose to face your challenges with faith, you are sending a powerful message out into the universe. I am ready to grow. I am ready to learn. I am ready to receive what God has prepared for me. And when you do this, when your heart and soul align in faith, things begin to change. Doors you thought were closed suddenly open. Opportunities you thought were gone return. The right people begin to enter your life. This isn't coincidence. It's the result of your courage. It's the reward of your unwavering belief. But let's be honest, this path isn't easy. There will be moments when it feels like you're moving backwards instead of forward. Days when doubt clouds your mind and whispers that you're not good enough, that you'll never get through this. It's in those moments, more than ever, that you must hold on to one truth. God is with you. He has never left your side, and he never will. His plans for you are vast, so much greater than anything you could imagine for yourself. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Pain and confusion can cloud your vision, making you feel as if you're stumbling in the dark. But let me tell you something powerful, that darkness is not the end. According to Jung, light is born from darkness. It's in those exact moments, when everything seems to fall apart, that we discover our deepest strength, our truest essence, and our most intimate connection with the divine. God is not wasting your pain. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every silent prayer you've whispered is being gathered, used, and transformed into something sacred. He's building your character. He's preparing you for the purpose he's placed on your life. Jung believed that the soul is always yearning to evolve, and the challenges we face are the spark that ignites that evolution. But transformation isn't instant. It demands patience. And more than that, it demands faith. Faith that even when you can't see the full picture, even when all you have are questions and no answers, what you're going through has meaning. Look around. Have you noticed how some of the strongest, wisest people you know have endured the most painful trials? That's no accident. God uses hardship to refine us, to strip away what is superficial and reveal what is truly essential within us. But make no mistake, the process is not comfortable. It's like fire purifying gold. It burns, it hurts, but in the end, something pure and beautiful is revealed. Now take a moment to reflect on your own life. What trials have you been facing lately? What hidden lessons might be concealed within those experiences? Jung once said that our struggles are like mirrors, reflecting back to us the things we need to work on within ourselves. Maybe that painful breakup wasn't just heartbreak, it was a lesson in setting healthy boundaries. Maybe that failure you faced was really an invitation to rediscover your true passions. Or maybe that emptiness you feel is a quiet reminder that you've been searching for answers outside of yourself, when the real answers can only be found within. God is using your trials to make you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the blessings that are coming. But to receive what He has in store, you must be willing to release what no longer serves you. Jung believed that clinging to what is no longer authentic to us, whether it's a relationship, a job, a limiting belief, or even a fear that has haunted us for years, only leads to suffering. Letting go is hard, but it is necessary. It is an act of faith, a deep trust that God has something better for you, even if you can't see it yet. When you choose to release what is no longer aligned with your growth, something profound shifts inside you. You create space for peace to replace anxiety, space for clarity to dispel confusion, and space for new opportunities to emerge. This process is not instant. It takes time. It takes endurance. But above all, it is transformative. And if you allow it, if you open your heart and soul to the journey, you will not just survive your trials. You will be reborn because of them. Jung would call this synchronicity, those mysterious moments when everything seems to align in your favor without any logical explanation. It's as if the universe itself is conspiring to support you, to guide you, to open doors that were once firmly shut. But let's be clear, this isn't magic, and it isn't coincidence. It's the result of something far deeper. Your willingness to trust, your ability to release control, and your decision to walk in alignment with your true purpose. It begins the moment you choose to stop forcing and start flowing. The moment you stop asking, "Why isn't it happening yet?" and start trusting that what is meant for you will never miss you. You see, God isn't searching for your perfection. He's not asking you to be flawless, sinless, or unbreakable. He's asking for your willingness to grow, to learn, to evolve, willingness to confront your own darkness, and to finally embrace the light you've been carrying within you all along. The challenges you're facing are not punishments. They are sacred preparations. Every trial, every hardship, every unanswered prayer is shaping you, sometimes painfully, sometimes silently, into the person you were always meant to become. And the deeper your trust in the process, the greater the transformation. The more you surrender to the unfolding of your life, the more extraordinary the reward waiting on the other side. So ask yourself this: what are you willing to release today? What part of you still needs to be reshaped, remolded, refined? What trial are you facing that could be the very bridge toward the life you've secretly been praying for? These are not just questions. These are invitations. Invitations to draw closer, not only to God, but to your truest self, to your essence, to your highest truth. Letting go is not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things we ever have to do. We cling to what we know, even when it hurts us, because the familiar gives us a false sense of safety. We tell ourselves that if we just hold on a little longer, if we just stay in control, we'll avoid pain. But deep down, we know it doesn't work that way. As Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. The more you resist letting go of what no longer resonates with who you're becoming, the more you delay the blessings God has already placed in motion for you. The longer you carry what was only meant to be temporary, the heavier your soul becomes. Picture this: you're carrying a backpack, and inside it are heavy stones. Each stone represents something you're unwilling to release: fear, regret, toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, guilt, and old wounds. With every step, that weight becomes more unbearable. You grow tired, lost, disconnected. And while you cling to those stones out of habit or fear, you unknowingly prevent yourself from stepping into the future God has carefully crafted for you. There is only one way forward. You must begin to let go. Stone by stone, weight by weight. You must release what's no longer serving your spirit. But releasing is only half of the equation. You also need to be open to receiving. Jung taught us that the universe is always in balance. When you create space by releasing what's old, something new will always find its way to you. And what arrives is always in harmony with the energy you radiate. If you face your trials with fear, you'll attract more fear. But if you meet your pain with faith, with a deep, unwavering trust that God is working behind the scenes for your good, you will begin to attract the right people, the right moments, the right opportunities. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Sometimes it doesn't happen all at once. It's not an overnight transformation, but you'll feel it. You'll sense a flicker of hope, a whisper in your soul that says, "Keep going." You'll notice a quiet inner strength building, as if something within you has awakened. That is the divine guiding you. That is the voice of your intuition, the voice of God, reminding you that you're not alone. No matter how dark the road seems, no matter how lost you feel, there is always a light. And the only way to reach that light is to keep walking, one step at a time. Each step, no matter how small, is a declaration of faith. Every time you rise after falling, every time you choose to keep going despite the pain, you are declaring that you trust in the plan that God has for your life. Jung believed that life doesn't happen by chance. It leads us to where we need to be. But how we face that journey is up to us. Will we face it with fear or with hope? With resistance or with surrender? There will be days when you question everything. Days when the weight of your burdens seems too much to carry. Days when it feels like the answers won't come, and the silence from above is deafening. But those are the moments when God is closest, working quietly, preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. He sees what you cannot see. He sees your strength, your resilience, your capacity to endure the unimaginable and still rise. He sees your ability to turn pain into purpose, wounds into wisdom, trials into testimony. And here's the most powerful truth of all. Your trials are not just for you. What you're going through now, the pain that feels endless, the lessons that feel heavy, they may one day be the exact message someone else needs to hear. Your story can be a source of healing and hope for others. God uses our stories to touch lives. Your courage to face your storm might be the very light someone else needs to find their way out of theirs. So don't underestimate the value of your journey. Don't despise your process. Don't rush the transformation. Every test is molding you in ways you may not yet understand. But one day, you'll look back with gratitude. Gratitude for the pain that woke you up. Gratitude for the silence that taught you to listen. Gratitude for the delays that protected you. And gratitude for the darkness that led you straight into the light. Keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You are being shaped, you are being guided, and above all, you are being prepared for something sacred, something bigger than you, something eternal. Carl Jung once reminded us that we cannot transform what we are unwilling to confront. This simple yet profound truth is the foundation of every journey of growth and transformation. The difficulties you face in life are not random misfortunes or accidents. They are invitations. Each challenge, each obstacle, each moment of pain is an opportunity, a sacred moment that calls you to turn inward, to reflect, to rediscover the strength within you that you may have forgotten or never even realized you had. These struggles are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. They are carefully woven into the story of your life, not as punishment, but as preparation. Preparation for the life that God, in His infinite wisdom, has designed specifically for you. Even when it feels like you're walking alone through the shadows, even when your prayers seem unanswered and your strength is running thin, know this: God has not abandoned you. He is present in every second of the silence. He is working through every tear, every sleepless night, every unanswered question. Nothing is wasted. Every moment you endure is shaping you, refining you, and guiding you towards something far greater than what you can currently see. That purpose, that divine calling on your life that sometimes feels distant or unreachable, is actually much closer than you think. But it demands something essential from you: faith. Faith that the situation you're facing right now is not the conclusion of your story, but rather the prologue of a powerful new chapter. Faith that your pain has meaning, that your journey, no matter how difficult, is not in vain, that the most impactful parts of your story have yet to unfold. And this is where your role becomes more than personal. It becomes powerful. If something inside you stirred as you heard these words, if your heart resonated or a quiet voice within you whispered, "This is for me," then it's because you are being called, not just to receive this message, but to carry it. In a world filled with noise, fear, and hopelessness, your choice to share a message of light, of purpose, of faith, can be the spark that someone else desperately needs. You might never know whose life you'll touch, whose burden you'll lighten, whose heart you'll lift simply by sharing what moved you. But make no mistake, your voice matters, your story matters, your willingness to share matters. There is someone out there facing their own trial who needs exactly what you've just heard. Someone who's searching for clarity, for reassurance, for a reason to believe again. And your decision to reach out, to share this message, could be the turning point in their life. So I invite you to take that step. Share this video with someone who's going through a hard time. Someone who needs to be reminded that they are not alone, that there is still hope, even in the darkest hours, that what they are facing today is not the end, but the beginning of something new. Leave a comment below and tell us, what trial are you facing right now? How has this message impacted you? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read. They might help someone else take one more step forward, one more breath, one more moment of faith. And in doing so, you won't just be helping others, you'll also be healing yourself. There's something profoundly powerful in expressing your truth and connecting with others through shared struggle and shared hope. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more messages like this one. Every time you like, comment, share, or simply engage with this content, you are helping it reach more people, touch more lives, and light more paths. You are becoming part of a greater movement, a chain of transformation that is changing hearts and changing futures. Always remember this: God never wastes a trial. Everything you're going through right now is a part of a greater plan, a divine blueprint that's unfolding perfectly, even if you can't see it yet. Trust the process. Trust His timing. Trust the purpose. And above all, trust the person you are becoming through it all. You are far stronger than you realize. And what awaits you on the other side of this season will be greater, more beautiful, and more meaningful than you can imagine. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for allowing this message to reach your heart. And thank you for being a light in someone else's darkness. We'll see each other in the next video. Until then, never forget, transformation begins with you. And the very trials you are facing today are the bridge to the greatness that God has already prepared for you. See you soon. When we desperately try to hold on to someone at all costs, when we sacrifice our dignity and humiliate ourselves in the name of love, we are actually sending a powerful and damaging message to our subconscious mind. I am not enough on my own. I need someone else to validate my worth. This internal message slowly erodes our sense of self-respect, and without realizing it, we lose the very essence that makes us attractive to others. We cease to be a source of admiration and become someone who is easy to discard, easy to overlook. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, taught us that true love, the kind that nurtures and sustains, is born when we have fully integrated all aspects of ourselves. It emerges when we no longer seek someone to complete us, but instead choose to share our journey from a place of wholeness and fulfillment. However, most people confuse love with attachment. They mistake emotional neediness for affection, believing that another person can fill the voids they feel inside. But this belief is nothing more than an illusion, a psychological trap set by the unconscious mind. It is a reflection of our deepest wounds, our unresolved traumas, and the emotional scars we have carried since childhood. When someone degrades themselves for love, when they emotionally crawl at the feet of another in the desperate hope of being accepted, what they are really doing is exposing their most hidden wound. They are reliving the fear of abandonment, the excruciating feeling of not being enough, the belief that they have no value without the presence and approval of another person. But Jung offers a radical perspective on relationships. Everything we experience in love is a mirror of what lies within us. If someone ignores you, rejects you, or fails to appreciate you, it is often because there is a part of you that has not yet learned to acknowledge and honor itself. The problem is that society has conditioned us to believe that love should be a struggle, a battle, an unending sacrifice. We have been told that we must fight relentlessly to keep the person we love, that we must prove our affection without limits or conditions. But this concept is not only flawed, it is dangerous. Love is not about submission. It is not about diminishing ourselves or settling for less than we deserve. Love, in its truest form, is expansion. It is growth. It is the evolution of two individuals who walk together without losing themselves in the process. Jung spoke of individuation as the path to the totality of the self. This journey towards self-completion cannot be achieved if we live through the gaze of another, if we seek in external love the validation we deny ourselves. When we depend on someone else's love to feel valuable, we become prisoners of that relationship. We live in constant fear of losing it, and in that fear, we begin to compromise, to settle, to betray our own needs and desires. This is where humiliation takes root. We cling to those who reject us. We emotionally beg for affection, accepting breadcrumbs of love with the desperate hope that one day things will change. But here is the truth. Real love is never begged for. Authentic love does not arise from desperation or lack. It flourishes from inner balance and self-assurance. When you love from a place of insecurity and fear, you inevitably create toxic relationships. Relationships built on dependency, manipulation, and suffering. On the other hand, when you love yourself enough to never lower your worth, when you possess the inner strength to let go of what no longer serves you, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract a different kind of relationship, one where you are valued, respected, and cherished for who you truly are. You radiate a self-sufficiency, a confidence, a light that does not seek approval from anyone else, but shines on its own, unapologetically and powerfully. Carl Jung taught us that everything in our lives responds to the energy we project from our unconscious mind. Our thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns shape the reality we experience, whether we realize it or not. If you treat yourself with dignity, if you value and respect yourself, you will attract unbreakable connections, relationships that are not based on need or fear, but on genuine connection, on mutual understanding, and a shared journey of growth. Healthy love does not enslave. It does not hurt. It does not demand that you betray your essence just to keep someone by your side. True love arises when two whole individuals choose to walk together, not out of necessity, not because they fear loneliness, but because they consciously choose each other. And that choice can only happen when both have done the necessary inner work to truly know themselves, to heal their wounds, and to stop projecting their unresolved fears and insecurities onto their partner. If you have ever felt that you must humble yourself to be loved, if you have fallen into the trap of begging for attention, If you have believed that love must be earned through effort and sacrifice, pause for a moment. Reflect. Ask yourself, is this person truly meant for you? Is it truly worth losing yourself just to keep someone else in your life? Because the truth is, when you stop humiliating yourself for love, when you learn to let go with dignity, when you value yourself enough to refuse anything less than what you deserve, something powerful happens. Real love arrives. A love without chains, without fear, without dependency. A love that does not destroy you, but instead helps you grow. A love that is free and at the same time unbreakable. When you decide not to lower yourself for love, when you stand firm in your dignity and self-respect, you become magnetic. Not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because you are in harmony with your true self. People who do not emotionally crawl for attention share something in common. They radiate security, confidence, and authenticity. They do not seek validation because they already know who they are. And that deep self-knowledge is what makes them truly irresistible. Carl Jung showed us that what we attract into our lives is never a matter of chance. Every experience, every relationship, every connection we form is a reflection of our psyche. If you constantly find yourself in relationships where you must beg for love, where you feel ignored, undervalued, or treated with indifference, it is not merely bad luck. It is a sign that something within you needs to be addressed. Perhaps it is a wound of abandonment, a fear of not being enough, or an unconscious belief that love must always come with suffering. Whatever it is, it will continue to manifest in your relationships over and over again, until you decide to face it. Many people believe that if they try harder, if they give more, if they are more patient, more understanding, eventually they will be valued. But love does not work that way. Love is not a negotiation. It is not a transaction where the one who gives the most automatically receives more in return. In reality, the more you struggle to be seen, the more you sacrifice yourself in an attempt to receive love, the less valuable you become in the eyes of the other person. Because attraction does not stem from need, it stems from respect. And no one truly respects someone who forgets themselves just to keep another person around. Jung spoke of the shadow archetype as a part of us that we prefer to ignore. In love, this shadow manifests when we allow our fears to dictate our choices, when we accept less than we deserve, when we justify someone's indifference, when we convince ourselves that we must change who we are just to be loved. All of this is a projection of something we refuse to acknowledge within ourselves, a lack of self-love. But instead of facing that reality, many seek to compensate for it through external validation. They believe that if they can just get someone else to love them, then they will finally be worthy. But this is a fatal mistake. Healthy love never arises from desperation. You cannot build a solid relationship if the foundation is the fear of abandonment. You cannot attract a strong, fulfilling connection if you are willing to endure anything just to avoid being alone. True connection happens when two people choose each other freely, not because they need to fill a void, not because they are afraid of being alone, but because their energy aligns naturally. But for that to happen, you must first do the inner work. You must learn to let go, to release those who are unwilling to value you, to close doors that lead nowhere. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is winning space for something better. It is opening yourself to the possibility that there is someone out there who will truly see your worth. Someone who is ready to embrace what you have to offer. But as long as you hold on to what does not nourish you, you will continue to block the arrival of what you truly need. Carl Jung taught us that life is always giving us signs, but more often than not, we fail to listen. We cling to relationships that drain us, believing that if we let go, we will be left with nothing. But the truth is, emptiness only exists when we have not learned to be at peace with ourselves. When you let go of someone who does not value you, when you refuse to beg for love, when you decide that you would rather be alone than in bad company, something extraordinary happens. Your energy shifts. Your perception of yourself strengthens. And the most surprising thing, many times, the very person who once ignored you begins to see you differently, not because you did anything special, but because the energy of desperation and scarcity disappears. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. But this is not a strategy to win someone back. This is not a game of manipulation. It is a real transformation within you, a profound shift that allows you to live from a place of wholeness rather than lack. Because when you truly love yourself, when you respect and value who you are, you do not need to convince anyone to choose you. The people who are not aligned with your energy naturally drift away, while the right people begin to appear. Self-love is not just a trendy concept. It is not about standing in front of a mirror and repeating affirmations or posting inspirational quotes on social media. It is an act of deep self-respect. It is about having standards. It is about knowing when to say no. It is about refusing to settle for the bare minimum. It is about understanding that you do not need to humiliate yourself to be loved. Because real love, the kind that truly matters, will never put you in a position where you have to beg for it. The problem is that many people have been conditioned to believe that love must be painful. They have grown up with the idea that love means enduring suffering, fighting endless battles, and making extreme sacrifices for the relationship to work. They have been taught that love is about tolerance, that showing affection means putting up with indifference, disappointment, and even mistreatment, with the hope that one day the other person will finally see their worth. But that is not love. That is a distortion rooted in fear. Carl Jung explained that when someone accepts less than they deserve, when they settle for emotional crumbs, what they are really doing is reflecting their own lack of self-worth. And this reflection does not just affect their romantic relationships, it influences every area of their life. Because the way you allow others to treat you is a direct reflection of how you treat yourself. If you accept less than what you are worth in love, you are likely doing the same in your career, in your friendships, and in every aspect of your life. When a person humiliates themselves for love, they do so because they believe that without that relationship, they will never find happiness. They hold on as tightly as they can to something that no longer works, convinced that if they just try harder, everything will change. But the truth is, relationships that need to be forced are simply not meant for you. You cannot force someone to love you. You cannot make someone see your value if they are not willing to. Carl Jung taught us that the human psyche seeks wholeness. It craves the integration of all its parts, striving for completeness and self-unity. However, one of the greatest dangers of emotional dependency is that it fragments the self. When you rely on someone else to validate your worth, when you need external approval to feel complete, you are unconsciously surrendering your personal power. You are handing over the key to your emotional well-being to someone outside of yourself, and this inevitably leads to suffering. But here's the crucial point. The moment you stop humiliating yourself, the moment you begin to recognize your own value and set clear boundaries, something incredible happens. You don't just reclaim your dignity, you also start attracting a completely different kind of love. A love that doesn't require begging. A love where you don't have to prove your worth. Because the right person, the one who truly belongs in your life, will recognize your value without you having to convince them. This is the power of authenticity. When you live in alignment with who you truly are, when you stop acting from a place of lack and begin to act from a place of wholeness, everything shifts. Your relationships transform. You no longer feel the need to persuade anyone that you are worthy of love. You simply are. And that internal change is reflected in the way others perceive you. If you have ever felt the need to prove to someone that you deserve their love, if you have ever believed that you must change yourself or work excessively hard just to be accepted, then stop for a moment and ask yourself, what part of me is still wounded? What am I projecting onto this person? Because Jung reminded us that the external world is merely a reflection of our internal state. The relationships you attract are a direct mirror of the relationship you have with yourself. If, at this moment, you find yourself trapped in a relationship where you are not valued, if you feel like you have had to betray your own essence out of fear of losing someone, then it is time to turn inward. Because the problem is not the other person. The problem lies in what you are allowing. And as long as you continue to accept less than what you truly deserve, you will keep attracting the same kind of relationships over and over again. Love should not be a constant battle. You should not feel like you have to prove your worth or work tirelessly just to be seen. Authentic love, the kind that is real and lasting, flows naturally. It is free of manipulation, free of mind games, free of strategies. It comes into your life when you are no longer desperately searching for it. When you have learned to be at peace with yourself. So if you ever feel the need to humiliate yourself for someone to love you, stop. Ask yourself, why am I willing to do this? What fear is driving this behavior? And most importantly, how would my life change if I truly started valuing myself? If I made myself a priority? If I stopped begging for what should be given to me freely? Because when you change the way you see yourself, you change the way the world sees you. And when you stop humiliating yourself for love, that's when real love finds you. A love that doesn't make you feel unworthy. A love that doesn't make you doubt yourself. A love that doesn't require you to become someone you're not. A love that, instead of breaking you, lifts you up. A love that is unbreakable. The moment you decide that you will no longer beg for love, the moment you realize that your worth is not dependent on someone else's validation, something inside you shifts permanently. You stop settling for relationships where you are just an option. You stop competing for attention. You stop feeling like you have to do more and more just to make someone stay. Instead, you learn to let go. Not with bitterness, not with pain, but with the certainty that if something does not flow naturally, it was never meant for you in the first place. Carl Jung taught us that everything we experience in our relationships is merely a projection of our inner world. The dynamics we face in our interactions with others, whether positive or negative, are reflections of the beliefs, wounds, and narratives deeply ingrained within our subconscious. If you repeatedly find yourself in relationships where you are not valued, where you constantly give more than you receive, where love feels like an uphill battle rather than something natural and fulfilling, this is not a coincidence. It is a mirror of what you subconsciously believe you deserve. On a conscious level, you might insist that you want to be loved deeply and genuinely. You might long for a healthy, stable, and enriching relationship. Yet, if within your inner world wounds remain unhealed, if old fears still whisper doubts into your mind, you will continue attracting the same painful patterns over and over again. The key to breaking this cycle is integration. Jung emphasized the critical importance of integrating the shadow, the part of ourselves that we prefer to ignore, suppress, or deny. The shadow holds our deepest fears, insecurities, and beliefs that were shaped in early childhood, past experiences, or cultural conditioning. Perhaps, hidden within your shadow, there is a belief that you are not enough, that love must be earned through effort and sacrifice, that if someone leaves you, it must be because you did something wrong. And as long as that belief remains active in your subconscious, you will continue to attract relationships that reaffirm it. But here is the truth. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. You do not need to convince someone to love you, because real love does not function that way. Authentic love is not a negotiation, a power struggle, or a desperate attempt to gain validation from another person. When you meet the right person, love flows naturally. There are no games, no uncertainty, no need to alter yourself to fit someone else's expectations. And here is the irony. This kind of love only manifests when you have first learned to be at peace with yourself. One of the most common mistakes people make is believing that the love of another person will fill the emptiness they feel inside. But external love can never compensate for a lack of self-love. This is why so many people, even when in relationships, continue to feel lonely. They continue to feel that something is missing. And it is not because their partner does not love them, but because they have yet to learn how to love themselves. The only way to attract an unbreakable bond is to become someone who does not need a relationship to feel complete. This does not mean resigning yourself to being alone forever. Rather, it means learning to enjoy your own company, to find fulfillment in your own life, without depending on someone else to provide it for you. Because when you reach that point, when you truly understand your worth, the right people begin to appear, not because you are actively searching for them, but because your energy has shifted. Jung stated that what we repress in our unconscious mind manifests in our external experiences. If a part of you believes that love is suffering, you will attract relationships where love hurts. If a part of you believes you must be perfect to be loved, you will attract people who always make you feel like you are not enough. But if you transform those beliefs, if you begin to see yourself as someone who deserves love effortlessly, without struggle, your reality will change. Love should not be a burden. It should not feel like a constant battle, a weight you have to carry. True love is light, fluid, and expansive. It is not a correction of what you believe is missing in you. Rather, it is an extension of who you already are. But to experience this kind of love, you must first allow yourself to release everything that does not align with it. Do not be afraid to walk away from what does not serve you. Do not be afraid to let go of those who do not recognize your value. Because the space you create by letting go of what is not meant for you will be filled with something far greater. When you stop humiliating yourself for love, when you stop begging for scraps of affection, when you decide that your dignity is more important than any relationship, the universe responds, and what comes next is always infinitely better than what you left behind. When you establish boundaries, when you refuse to accept less than what you truly deserve, you discover something powerful. The love that truly transforms is not the love that comes from others, but the love that is born within you. For far too long, society has led you to believe that finding the right person is the most important goal in life, that romantic love is the ultimate fulfillment, that without someone by your side, you cannot be whole. But this is a dangerous illusion. True wholeness does not come from being with someone else. It comes from within. And when you finally understand this, when you step into your own power and recognize your intrinsic worth, love ceases to be something you chase. Instead, it becomes something that naturally gravitates toward you. Because you are no longer seeking validation, you are radiating it. And that is the moment when love, in its purest form, finds you effortlessly. Carl Jung taught us that true wholeness does not come from being in a relationship, but from the integration of one's own self. The real challenge, however, is that many people seek love from a place of lack. They are driven by the fear of being alone, by the desperate need for someone else to make them feel valuable, by an internal void that they believe can only be filled through another person. And when love is sought from such a place, the inevitable result is imbalanced relationships. These are relationships where one person gives far more than they receive, where they constantly feel like they must fight to be seen, where they have to exert a continuous effort just to keep the other person interested. This is not love. It is emotional dependence, and emotional dependence never leads to deep, stable bonds. Instead, it creates fragile illusions that shatter at the first sign of conflict. What truly forms an unbreakable connection is freedom. Not the kind of freedom that disregards the other person's presence or feelings, but the freedom to be fully yourself without the paralyzing fear of losing someone. Jung spoke of the process of individuation as the path toward true self-realization. In love, this means that two individuals must first be whole within themselves before they can truly build something meaningful together. If you feel that your life loses its meaning without another person, then what you are experiencing is not love. It is an escape from yourself. This fear of losing someone is one of the most intense emotions a person can experience. It is so powerful that many prefer to stay in unfulfilling relationships rather than face their own solitude. But here lies the real secret. Solitude is not your enemy. Solitude is the space where you truly discover yourself, where you learn who you are without the influence of others, where you heal the wounds that make you rely on external validation to feel worthy. And when you have gone through that journey, when you have learned to enjoy your own company and to embrace your own completeness, the love that comes afterward is entirely different. You stop feeling anxious about whether someone will leave because you understand that the right person will stay without you needing to convince them. You no longer feel the urge to impress others because you are no longer seeking external validation. You stop accepting the bare minimum in relationships because you realize that you would rather be alone than be in a relationship where you are not truly respected. And that is where the magic happens. When you no longer need love as a means of filling a void, you begin to attract a completely different kind of person, someone who is secure, self-aware, and fully comfortable in their own worth. These individuals have an entirely different energy about them. They do not try to please everyone. They do not desperately seek attention. They do not use relationships as a temporary escape from their inner emptiness. Instead, they exist in a state of wholeness. And from that wholeness, they create deep, authentic connections. Carl Jung once said, that true love arises when two souls are aligned in their process of growth, not when they seek to complete each other, but when they strive to expand together. Love, in its purest form, is not about filling voids or seeking validation. It is about two individuals who have cultivated their own sense of wholeness and choose to share that completeness with each other. If, in the past, you have ever felt the need to humiliate yourself for love, if you have found yourself working excessively hard just to be chosen by someone, then it is time to ask yourself why. What fear is hiding behind that desperate need to hold on to someone who does not truly value you? Why do you believe that love must be earned through sacrifice? The truth is, love, real, profound, and meaningful love, does not require you to prove your worth. You do not have to beg for love. You do not have to perform or conform to someone else's expectations just to be accepted. The only thing you need to do is be yourself. But the best version of yourself, not the version that bends and molds to fit into another person's idea of who you should be. When you stop begging for love, when you realize that you do not have to convince anyone of your worth, everything shifts. Your energy changes. Your perception of relationships changes. Suddenly, the people who once ignored you start to see you differently, not because you have transformed for them, but because you have transformed for yourself. And when that shift happens, the connections you attract become entirely different. You no longer seek someone to fill the empty spaces within you. Instead, you seek someone who adds to the fullness you have already cultivated. And that kind of love, when it arrives, is unbreakable. It is a love that does not depend on fear, attachment, or the need for approval. It is a love that stands strong because it is built on a foundation of self-awareness and inner completeness. When you truly understand your worth, when you stop begging for love and start prioritizing yourself, you come to a profound realization. You have never truly lost anyone who was meant for you. You have only let go of those who were never ready to love you as you deserved. You begin to see that love is not a power struggle. It is not a game where the one who cares less wins. It is not a relentless sacrifice of your dignity just to hold on to someone who fails to see your true brilliance. The key to an unbreakable bond does not lie in manipulation, in strategy, or in pretending to be someone you are not in order to please another. It lies in authenticity, in daring to be exactly who you are, without fear of others walking away. Because the ones who leave when you reveal your true self were never there for the real you. They were drawn to the version of you that was willing to please them, to seek their approval, to tolerate what should never have been tolerated. And that is not love, that is convenience. Jung taught us that life is a reflection of our unconscious mind. If you keep repeating the same painful patterns in love, if you continue to attract relationships where you feel you must struggle to be seen, it is because there is something within you that remains unhealed. And until you confront it, until you choose to break free from those cycles, you will keep encountering the same challenges over and over again. But when you do the inner work, when you dare to release everything that is not aligned with your true self, the love that comes after is unlike anything you have ever experienced before, because it no longer comes from a place of emptiness or need. It comes from a place of wholeness, from a place of deep self-acceptance, and love that is born from fullness is the only love that can truly last. If you've made it this far, I want to invite you to reflect deeply for a moment. How many times have you felt that you had to try too hard, almost to the point of exhaustion, just to be loved by someone? How many times have you justified behaviors that hurt you simply because you were afraid of losing someone? How many times have you settled for less than what you truly deserve, convincing yourself that a little bit of love is better than nothing at all? If these words resonate with you, if at this very moment you feel a stirring inside you, an urge to rethink how you experience love, then this is your moment. This is the moment to shift your perspective, to break free from patterns that no longer serve you. It's time to choose yourself. It's time to stop chasing after those who don't want to stay. It's time to step into your power and realize that real love, the kind that is genuine, fulfilling, and reciprocal, never needs to be begged for. True love flows effortlessly when you are aligned with yourself, when you embrace your worth fully and unapologetically. I want to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments. What part of this message struck a chord within you? Have you ever experienced a moment of awakening, a moment when you finally recognized your true value? And if this message speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear these words, someone who may still be struggling, someone who might not yet realize that love should never require humiliation or self-sacrifice. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that this message can reach more people. Because the more people understand their worth, the more people stop settling for crumbs, and the more we will begin to build relationships based on respect, authenticity, and genuine connection. Remember, everything starts with you. The way you treat yourself, the way you value yourself, the way you decide who has access to your life and who doesn't. These choices define the kind of love you will experience. So don't be afraid to let go of what doesn't serve you. Don't be afraid to choose yourself. Because when you do, you don't just transform your own life, you become an example for others. And the world needs more people who love themselves enough to never have to beg for love.